Hey, and welcome to our very first episode of our new Immerse series. My name is Kelly, and today we're going to be talking about the decision to vote and negative stigmas surrounding that decision. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe down below, but also check out our description for more information about our newsletter that's coming out. We definitely want you guys to get involved. So, welcome to our series. Immerse and enter the mind of a voter. Alright, Dan, your turn.
Let's get it.
What was your first experience with politics, or your first major experience with politics?
My first major experience was in 2008 with my mom. Me and her, well, she technically casted the ballot for Barack Obama, and I was with her. And prior to that time, we were watching all the campaigns, the debating, the analyses, one of those two. And we really just ended up loving it and continued to watch it and voted for him at the end.
So would you say your mom is your biggest influence in how you sway on politics right now?
Yes, right now, she was my biggest kind of resource at the time about politics, and then now it's sort of myself, self-learning.
How did you go from that transition to leaning on your mom for politics and other people's point of views to really having your own?
I would say just social media played a really big factor in it, actually, and doing a lot of self-research and just my friends, informing me and technically educating me, but I wanted to know the right things and not just what someone else said. So,
I think my first experience in politics was when Obama was elected in 2008. I think it was kind of a defining moment for me, a Black woman, seeing a Black person hold such a high office. The first Black president, it meant something to me even at such a young age. And I think when Trump was elected, after that, it kind of amplified that. So I think those are the two biggest defining moments for me.
The first memories I have in politics actually are with breakfast with my grandpa and my dad, and I would ask them to stop talking about politics so I could enjoy a conversation with them. And that was when I was probably 5 or 6. And then I used to watch the debates with my parents and not understand what was happening. And then I fast forward to 2016, I'm going to a Catholic private school, and all of my friends are voting for someone who I'm not interested in, and I find repulsive. Actually, to be honest, I liked Trump for a week or two at the beginning. And then I started finding out his talking points, and he went from a comedian to someone who stood for things I didn't agree with. So I switched real quick. And but then all my friends were still supporting Donald Trump. There was a kid who showed up at school in a USA flag blazer and a MAGA hat and shirt, and we had to wear uniforms, and he put it on 3 times, each time being asked to take it off, and that was sort of a violent awakening for me.
So how does your social circle affect your political views? And specifically talking about the demographics of your social circle, who do you hang out with and how do they influence you?
I would say, to keep it real, I hang out with a lot of privileged people, but they don't necessarily kind of take me one way in my political views, but they do say some things that I'm that's technically a microaggression, or you're saying something a little too, doesn't have any content behind it or sources behind it. But other than that, we're real. We keep it real with each other. We might not agree on some things, but we don't try to turn someone one way and turn someone the other way. We just say what we say, and after that, it just moves on. The conversation moves on.
I think for the most part, I choose to spend my time with people who align with me to some extent on politics. I don't know that I am strongly affected by my friends' beliefs, but I think I'm more drawn to people who value the same things that I do. I think to small degrees I am affected by my friends, and some of the decisions they make can make me think more deeply about the decisions that I make. But for me, it's important that my friends value the same things that I do, not because I don't, not because I want, sorry.
You're good. It's okay. You like it when your friends value the same things as you do, and you were talking about why.
Yes. Not because I don't think that disagreement and discussion is not valuable, because I really do enjoy like talking to and debating with people who don't agree with me, but I think on a lot of big issues that I really care about, I want to have friends who care about those things too, that I feel are morally right, if that makes sense.
I wear my beliefs on my sleeve, so I got called libtard a lot by, which I think is a like pretty politically derogatory term.
Yeah.
But for the sense of voter education, I'll say it. But like, all my friends will probably be voting Trump in the next week. They're all single issue pro-lifers. So it's hard to have those conversations with people I value. But then it also made me more resolved in my beliefs, because if I wanted to argue for what I believed in, I had to come with the facts, and I had to come with sources and say why they were wrong. So it helped me get to where I am now, but it was a lot of growing pain.
So you think a friendship between two people that disagree politically is viable?
It's very viable. It's very healthy. You may, at first, a lot of people can't do it. A lot of people can't hold that because we kind of live in a sensitive era, to me at least now, and friends can't really disagree on things. It's always like, oh yeah, I agree with you, bro. Yeah, that's a really good point. But it's good to have some, I don't want to say tension, but differences in conversation.
Have you ever had to terminate a friendship because of their political views, or has it always been pretty easygoing in that sense?
It's always been pretty easygoing, unless it's something, I have to think about this, unless it's something bad, like if it has to do with race or racism or saying something that is not okay in this day and age.
All right, tell me your name and a little bit about yourself.
My name is Haven Denson. I am a junior social entrepreneurship major with a minor in theater. At my college, I'm involved as the secretary at the Black Student Association, and I work at our Center for Social Impact.
So Haven, in your introduction, you talked about how the 2008 election of Barack Obama was really influential because you saw representation. Can you talk a little bit about Kamala Harris and if you think that she's a good representation of Black women in general, or just specifically you as a Black woman?
Yes, so this is a hard question. I think when I was 8 and Obama was elected, all I knew about him was that he was Black and he was gonna be president, and that's awesome.
That's all we need done.
That's all we need. But now I think, obviously because I'm a lot older than I was then, a lot more matters to me. And I do think that representation is incredibly important, and Kamala Harris is going to inspire a lot of young Black girls to run for office, which is awesome, and get more involved in politics, which is very important. But I also think that a lot of the things she stands for is not necessarily rooted in uplifting Black people, which is something I think is necessary when we finally have Black representation. So yeah, it's a hard balance of wanting to celebrate Black people in office, but also realizing that they might not fully represent you.
What would it look like to have someone in office that does represent you at least a little bit better?
It would look, I don't know, it's hard to imagine that because I've never seen it. I can think of other politicians who maybe better represent my views, but then they don't look like me. I voted for Bernie in the primaries, and I really, he's one of the politicians that I agree with on a lot more issues, but he's also the opposite of who I am. And so it's hard to imagine seeing someone that I can feel fully represented with in politics. I don't know what that would look like.
Yeah, I like the honesty. You mentioned that you work somewhere on campus at the college you go to. Where is that you work?
Yes, it's called the Center for Social Impact. Basically, it's a lot of different things fall under our umbrella. Recently, I've been working on an activism resource center for the Center for Social Impact, and so that has consisted of pulling together a lot of different resources and articles and books and videos and so many different things that we can compile for the students on our campus to get them more involved with activism. And so that's one of the pillars of the Center for Social Impact, but it's really just about making a difference however students want to, and that's what the Center for Social Impact works to do, to empower students.
So you say you pull articles and you do research. What's the best way to find unbiased, what's the best way to learn about politics in an unbiased manner? Or is that even possible today?
Yeah, I think it's so hard to learn about politics in an unbiased manner, because whether we realize or admit it or not, literally all of us have biases. And so I think the first thing is just recognizing that and being aware of it. And so when we read articles, books, or whatever resources, when we look for the biases and we look for the opinions that slipped in amongst the facts, so that we're able to kind of remove that and look at the facts, as well as just pulling from a variety of different resources, instead of just looking for what you will agree with, being intentional about trying to find things that you don't agree with and reading about them, so that you can fully see the whole picture.
So Haven, you didn't mention this, but I do know this about you, that you're a Christian woman. Can you talk a little bit about how you bring faith into politics? More specifically, I'm asking about the pro-life versus pro-choice, and how a lot of pro-lifers are saying that that's the Christian point of view. Can you talk a little bit more about how you stand on that?
Yes. So yeah, I am a Christian woman, and I am also pro-choice, which a lot of people think is impossible or unheard of. And that's actually one of the areas that I have really enjoyed and learned a lot from discussing the topic with people that don't agree with me. But I think it's so easy to look at the one view that kind of a lot of Christians fall into, and say that you have to be a Christian if you have to believe that if you are a Christian. But I think, my Christian values kind of define everything I do. And so I am pro-choice because I think that what is proven to decrease abortion rates is education and access to resources and healthcare. And I think that is what most people would be on board for when they see historically what those things have done. I think it's easy to say we just want all of it gone and banned and ended. But that's just not really how the world works. It's not going to end just because it's a law. And so, yeah, I think if we think critically about the way we go about fighting these issues, then it'll be more successful for all of us.
My name is Jackson Frank. I am a senior at North Central College. I am a political science major. I'm the College Democrats Club president on campus. I'm a student mentor on campus in the honors program. I think I have 2 or 3 part-time jobs right now. I'm from Peoria, just a little bit further away.
Nice. Have you had any positive conversations with any Trump supporters or Republicans or even people in the middle?
Oh yeah, I think I learned more from people who disagree with me than agree with me. And even like the people back home who I strongly disagree with on certain issues, because then I can learn what they value, so then I can work my way towards that sort of in a conversation. And I have classmates who just differ from me, and I like learning what I don't agree with. I think that's the only way to really grow. But there have definitely been really good conversations I've had that I've enjoyed.
Do any come to mind right now?
Like there are certain ones that, like, my friend who's in that circle, he's the one who told me to leave the country if I don't like it. Like his family is a small business owning family. They have a big Catholic family. He's a single issue pro-life, and he was talking about how all the tax cuts are helping him and his family, and like he's the first president, Trump being the first president to like care, and Obama didn't do enough for small businesses. So like I get the small business argument, but I think it's shallow and kind of a smokescreen. I've had discussions in class which really aren't learning from the other side. They've been more like hearing what they say, but not a discussion. But no favorites.
Yeah.
No favorites.
Going into a conversation, being a Democrat, what's the best mindset you think you should walk into a conversation with a Trump supporter with? And then even on like both ends, how do you walk into a conversation about something that 2 people strongly disagree with? What's the best way to have a valuable conversation?
The first thing I always remind myself, if I know I'm about to get mad or if I'm getting mad at someone, is the person I'm talking to is a product of their environment. And so if I want to get mad at them, get mad at their parents and just let them be ignorant in their belief, and that they were taught that and they haven't figured out a way out of that. And then I also think that I've never learned anything from someone shouting at me or telling me I'm wrong, just sort of putting a light on a path I didn't know was there yet.
Yeah.
So if I'm going to lead with love and with education and proof, that's the way I'm going to convince someone to think my way. I'm not going to, like Inception, like I'm going to plant the seed in their head. I'm not going to tell them what to think. And in the same way, I'm also going to listen to them, one, because I want them to listen to me, but also because when they're arguing for their side, they're telling me what they're passionate about or what matters to them. So if I can find out that like they care about the family aspect from a Republican aspect, then I'm gonna say, well, like maybe the left side wants to give you tax cuts. They're gonna tax the people who have all the money. Then they're gonna give you programs to give you opportunities for education, equity, or welfare, whatever it's gonna be, that thing that helps your family, or cheaper education, and then I'll go at it that way.
Yeah. So how much does it take to be politically engaged, especially when it sounds like your family and your friend group and just everyone around you is just so different from how they think and how they view the world and politics? Wouldn't it just be easier to just be like, you know what, screw it, I don't care about politics anymore, I'm gonna say ignorance is bliss and just exist peacefully without it?
Yeah, ignorance is bliss, but like without pain you don't know pleasure. Without light you don't, or without darkness you don't know light. So if you want to make a change, if you want to leave a mark on something, you have to do you have to do something in your life. So to be politically engaged, like every morning, night, afternoon when I'm eating, I'll just scroll through the news. I follow, like on Twitter, I follow everyone from left-leaning or Democratic senators to, like, I'll follow Candace Owens, Larry Elder, Thomas Sowell, like the people I don't want to listen to.
Yeah.
I'll watch or listen to Ben Shapiro,
Oh,
just
boy.
because like I need to know what I'm arguing against, because someone's going to tell me what Ben Shapiro said someday. Then if I can quote Ben Shapiro back to them and say, oh, actually he disagreed later on, then that's a tool I just got. And just learning different opinions, and then once I read an article, I try to think, okay, well, what's that article telling me? What am I gaining from that? What am I going to go tell someone about that article? That way I'm not just a headline person, but I'm creating thoughts and ideas. So it's sort of like what you want to put into it is what you'll get out of it. I just put a lot more into it, I think, than some people.
Yeah. Well, talk about the decision to become you said you were a political science major. Talk about that decision to become a political science major.
I became that major because the other major I wanted didn't have any classes, or they were all full, and that was the closest one.
What was that?
I was going to be international studies.
Okay.
I had a really influential trip across Europe a few years ago. That was supposed to be a service trip, and so I wanted to go in international, and then political studies had the same department chair person. So I was like, oh, he seems like a cool guy. I'll just go into his other department. And since then I've loved it. The thing I love most about political science is it's every one of the things I like to learn about, like psychology, sociology, history, anthropology, current events. It's everything, but it's with the one tool of applying it. Like I have friends or roommates who are taking psychology courses, and they're like diagnosing this behavior. But until they're a clinical psychologist or a school counselor, they can't apply it. But I can take that same application tool and just say, okay, well, this is what's happening in South Dakota right now in this race. And it's real-time, real-world application. So it's pretty exciting, I think.
I think so too. All right, thank you.
My name is Justin Cunningham. I'm a junior at UIC, and I'm a public policy major. I currently work full-time. I'm a manager at Target, and I love activism.
What, like, do you hold black? Do you hold male? Do you hold like your social class? Like, what do you value in that sense?
Yeah. Okay. I consider myself working class. I consider myself Afro-Latino. I'm Puerto Rican and black. Specifically Nigerian. Just found that out through that DNA test thingy.
Hey.
So yeah. But yeah, black, working class, and a Democrat, if you'd say.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit more about being a black male can you talk a little bit more about being a black male in America and how you hold that value to yourself?
I think it's being a black male in America, I think it holds a different type. A good thing and a bad thing. A bad thing towards people who have always tried to oppress black people, especially with systemic racism. But a good thing is it's just like a different type of swagger. Like you're black, you're proud. You came here literally from the bottom. We were brought through slavery, right? And now look at us. I'm in school with other people. It's diverse. There's still people out there that hold certain beliefs that may not align with mine, but it's just being black is different. It's good. I love it.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit more about the black community and just what that feels like for you?
I think the black community as a whole, I don't want to speak on behalf of them.
No, just talk about your experience with it.
My experience has been...
Is it like primarily through your family, through your friend groups, through like college organizations? Where are you finding that community?
I found it the most recently. Through my life, I went to a lot of private schools, so I never really got to interact with the black community. and being part of it. And especially with my friend group as well, you know, they were diverse, but they weren't necessarily Black. I didn't really feel that community until I got to college, until I took a step of becoming the vice president of the Black Student Alliance at College of DuPage. That was a lot to say. But it was just like the culture and what I was doing and what I was fighting for and the issues that we were focusing on was just like, that's when I felt at home. That's when I felt like I was being supported by my own people that actually looked like me, that actually believed in the same things as me.
So talk about those views right there. You said people that actually look like you and view the same things as you. What are some values politically that you hold pretty close to you?
I think that everybody deserves a chance, and specifically towards, you know, the justice system as a whole. Just the way it was set up. I mean, people say like the justice system was broken and it's bad, but I mean, it was designed the way they wanted it to work. Mm-hmm. That's how it was. And just focusing on that and that, you know, we have to overcome that and put pressure on like our leaders, our community leaders to fix that. So, and that's a big issue, just the justice system as a whole and policies designated towards that with me.
So you said you were the vice president of your BSA at COD. Yes, what does that role look like? How are you active in getting, like, what does that role look like, and what are some, what's the word I'm looking for?
Events.
Yeah, what does that role look like, and what are some events that you guys put on?
Okay. The role was, honestly, it was very tough because we had to keep everybody engaged. The first semester was great. You know, we started off really strong. We had a great support system. We planned events focusing on specific Black issues, but not only Black issues, but all issues. We wanted to be supportive of all clubs, not just our club. So, I mean, there's this talk within our school specifically that, you know, Black Student Alliance is only for Black students, but we were open to all students, and we would go out in the hallways and try to pull people in. I know it sounds crazy, but pull people in, just talk, just hear what they gotta say, and play games, you know, lighten up the mood and things like that. But events wise, we didn't really start hitting big events towards the second semester, and we put on this voting jubilee. It was like, we knew that voting within the Black community, the Black and brown community, and especially for youth, not youth, but us, like 18 and young adults, it was at the bottom. It wasn't as strong as it is now, technically. And we did this huge event where we went to different stages of voting, and we talked about the history of voting. We talked about the current candidates that were running at the time, you know, when we had, you know, Pete Buttigieg, Bernie Sanders, and all of them. And then we also went almost as far as back as when people were Black and they had to read a book in order to vote. And that was like a big thing, or your grandpa owns this person so you can't vote or something. It was all crazy, but it brought in a lot of information, and I think it woke up College of DuPage, because that we as a club, we wanted to change the culture of COD, and I feel like we impacted so many people.
So right now my eyes are watering just a little bit, because I totally know what it feels like to have people that are well above you support you, like really, really support you. So can you talk a little bit more about that and what support actually feels like? Or was that something that was overwhelming, like, oh my gosh, we're being heard? Can you just talk about that moment?
Yeah, when I found out, at first, like, before this, I don't want to say the events that have happened during this pandemic has been great, but it really turned on a light for many people, especially many white people. And white allyship is like the new big thing. And just to feel that support from people that don't look like you, that never really express, they may have felt it inside, but never said it because of the culture and the environment they're in. That support was just, I mean, it was overwhelming, and it kept us going. It kept us moving. Like when we were planning events, you know, I was losing my mind because, you know, I was all in and I was trying to funnel work, school, and, you know, this club, but just like planning event. All right, what are we doing next? We got to keep everybody in tune because we don't want to lose them, because people lose focus so quick. It's like a light. It's out and people are done. I mean, you see now with the social media aspect of everything, you know, people were reposting things about Black Lives Matter. People were posting things about, I mean, people are posting about politics, but you know, that's kind of died down a lot. And me, if you see me on social media every day, I got something new that, you know, a new article, a new research paper, a new dissertation that I've read. Like, so you need to keep it going. You got to keep it moving because people just lose interest like that.
Yeah. So it sounds like even just receiving a little bit of support,
Yeah,
that ignites a little fire just to keep you going every day.
absolutely.
You're so happy.
Okay. Okay, hypothetical. How do you talk to your Trump-supporting grandmother about politics?
First off, do you have a Trump-supporting grandmother?
I do not.
Okay.
No.
Let's talk about this hypothetical. Go for it.
Okay. This is very difficult. I guess starting the conversation, I wouldn't bring up Trump specifically. I'd probably bring up some policies or, I don't know, something that we can talk about that's easier to start talking about, I guess. Hear her out on why she believes what she believes, and then just shut it down.
If I get the same one, I'm gonna be mad. Hypothetical. The one from earlier.
Oh.
Your significant other recently came out as a Trump supporter. What do you do? I try to figure out why. First off, I'd probably try to like listen to her, and then argue my side of things, but maybe focus more on what he has said specifically about women and their rights. I think that's a big thing. I don't know everything about it, but I know that he's made some extensive comments about it. Yeah, I don't want to say anything too crazy, but I think I would go that route.
Would you keep them as your significant other if they kept their views even after the conversation?
Significant other? I don't think so.
You would not keep your significant other if they were Trump supporter.
I couldn't. I just who he is and what he stands for is not. I can't. I'm trying to say it the right way, but I'm sorry, fam. I can't do it.
Okay. Hypothetical. One of your non-black friends says the N-word and doesn't care. What do you do? Terminate the friendship?
So let's bring on.
Let's phone
Jack.
a friend. One of your non-black friends says the N-word and doesn't care. What do you do? Terminate the friendship?
I don't terminate it, but there's a conversation that needs to be had. I fortunately became desensitized to it at my high school. My graduating class was somewhere between 180 and 200 students. And I think we had 5 black students, and I heard the N-word more between white people to white people. Like hard R calling each other that than I have, and I hear in rap music that I hear every day. So unfortunately I became desensitized at a Catholic school, but there is definitely a conversation where I'm going to say like, hey, do you understand what you're saying? Like, do you understand the historical implications that come with that word and the hatred
regardless of how it affects you, how it affects other people. And then I also have to, like, when I'm talking to this person, I'm also gonna, like, what is my nature of my friendship with this person? Like, are they someone that I think would change? Is it a friendship I see like 3 times a year? In that case, it may not change much, but if it's a best friend who's unwilling to look at my perspective on that and say, oh shoot, it took me 20 years to figure that one out, and they move on and they change, then that's good. But I think that someone who is unwilling to change in the face of that is someone I'm going to reevaluate a relationship with.
Have you ever
Sure.
had to have that conversation before?
I can't remember that specific conversation, but I've had conversations where I'm just like, what's going on in this world right now, or are you understanding what your neutrality is doing? Unfortunately, I'm still getting to that backbone part where I stop the music and look over, which is something that I wish I would have done before, and I haven't had the opportunity since quarantine started because of social distancing, where I haven't had that issue come up. But I've gotten to that point where I'm just like, no more slack, but yeah, it's a tough one.
It is.
David, how would you answer that question?
I mean, I think definitely a conversation would happen, but I don't know how that friendship could continue if the question says, and they didn't care. I mean, I don't know that I could ever look at that person the same, knowing that they didn't care. If they were receptive to a conversation, I think that would be one thing, but it would still be hard to be close friends with someone who I know has ignored the history of that word, because I feel like in this day and age, you know and are actively ignoring it, or you are choosing not to use it. It's hard for me to see an excuse at this point.
Yeah. Anything else on that?
I think the history of the word isn't taught well.
That's true.
I always knew funny backstory to my learning of the word, as my mom taught me at a very young age, you don't say this word. But I thought she said nuggets. So the Denver Nuggets basketball team, and I would say the chicken McNuggets, but I would not say nuggets because I thought that was the N word.
That is so funny.
So I did not even understand it until I got older. And
She's probably trying not to say it too.
yeah, she was definitely avoiding the word. So I think maybe she spelled it. I don't remember the conversation, but I just remembered a realization one day where I was like, holy crap, it's not nugget. But it really hit me. Like I said earlier in the video, I went to Europe for a summer and learned, and I went to 7 or 6 concentration camps and a lot of World War II sites, and the way they use the word Jew, which is saying I'm Catholic or I'm white or I'm tall, it's just a descriptive ethnic word. But the way they put hatred behind that and put that on people's clothes, something one day just clicked. I was like, okay, I knew this word was bad and I knew it had evil history, but now I've studied a behavior that has an equivalency of Jew to the N-word. And but I hadn't gotten that in 18 years of life until I had to go to a different country on a different continent to learn a different word's history and put it together.
You have to be your biggest fan, and when things are really tough and
How was this experience being on the show?
It was good. It was an opportunity for me to find out more from others' opinions, figure out what my opinions were that I hadn't discovered yet. And it was an environment where I was challenged to speak about things that made me uncomfortable, but in a cool, open-minded way, an environment where I was able to be uncomfortable. So it was cool.
My experience here was really great. I am always really grateful for the opportunity to discuss politics. It's something I'm really passionate about, and I always love being able to hear different points of view, no matter how far or near they stray from my own. And so yeah, I love.
It was great. I'm gonna be honest. Just being here with this group of people, and the experience was very comfortable to talk about politics and just to relax, because you know this world is moving fast. I mean, just yesterday it was March, so you know, so it was great.
Thank you.
Vote.
The Electoral College is messed up, and voter suppression is a thing, and so it can be really hard not only to have the motivation to vote, but also to physically get there and vote. But
Vote, and that are normal human beings, normal citizens that may have made a mistake and can never cast a vote again. So vote on their behalf. Vote like your life depends on it.